We'll have some updates and footage for you on the flooding in Roswell, New Mexico.
Cold front is continuing to make its way down south as more areas are experiencing lower temperatures.
Compliance officers in New Mexico are struggling to keep up with the fast-growing cannabis business. All this and more coming up right now.
This is News 3 New Mexico, your local source for news, sports, and first weather.
Good evening and welcome to News 3 New Mexico. I'm Thomas Mariscal.
And I'm Emmanuel Vera. Thank you so much for watching. You might want to think twice about your next order at McDonald's. The Center for Disease Control is investigating after 49 cases of E. coli were identified across 10 states, with 5 taking place in Bernalillo County, New Mexico. All of the cases have been linked to McDonald's Quarter Pounder hamburgers. You can still eat at McDonald's, but avoid ordering Quarter Pounder burgers. If you eat at McDonald's and experience symptoms like vomiting, diarrhea, fever, or dehydration, you should visit a doctor as soon as possible.
Roswell suffered a devastating flood last week on Saturday. News 3's Emily Wilbanks has more.
I'm Emily Wilbanks reporting from a drainage ditch between the Roswell Museum and Art Center and the Roswell Convention Center. After the flooding that occurred on Saturday night, the community has been left with a devastating mess. The rain led to significant flooding, leaving many drainage systems like this one flooded, drifting cars, flooded backyards, and flooded buildings.
Had a series of thunderstorm cells come through from the south, and I didn't realize it at first. Water was building up. My first indication was across the street there. Their front yard looked like a river. I went back to the living room and sat down, was doing stuff at the computer. And I came back out to check, and that's when I noticed that the water was leaking in, and it was I don't know, probably at least a foot high. You could see on stuff over there just how high it got. Well, once it started leaking into the living room, that's when I started getting a little concerned. So fortunately there was a nice lady who lived on the second floor. She opened her apartment to people who got flooded out. We got to stay there overnight.
Behind me is the boarded up museum and art center that flooded along with the convention and civic center. The whole city of Roswell was affected by the flooding. Local communities across the region are stepping up to support those affected by the Roswell flooding. Remember to follow any orders from local authorities, as well as the saying, turn around, don't drown. Prioritize your safety. We will have updates as the situation progresses. All of our prayers go out to this community. For News 3 New Mexico, I'm Emily Wilbanks.
Thank you, Emily. The record rainfall produced severe flooding that left 2 dead and 309 to be rescued.
Please consider volunteering to support Roswell in this hard time. Call 208-4055 to reach the Roswell Community Disaster Relief Services. This number is to apply to become a disaster responder. All of our prayers go out to the Roswell community at this time. Federal officials now say damage estimates from the Roswell area flooding could top $500 million. This video from our friends at the Chavez News Network. Federal officials went door to door in Roswell on Thursday to assess the damage from historic flooding last weekend in the southeastern New Mexico community. They estimated damages around $500 million. City leaders say many of the damaged homes might have to be torn down. The city lost 4 huge work trucks that cost $1 million or more so each. City officials say the Roswell Museum sustained at least $12 million in water damage. Many priceless pieces of artwork are being sent out of state to be repaired and restored.
A Roswell couple documented some scary moments during the recent flooding in and around Chavez County. Dean Harper and his wife Nikki narrowly escaped disaster after their home was destroyed by the severe flooding, triggered by the record rainfall. The couple found themselves trapped on their front porch as floodwaters quickly engulfed their home, forcing them to take shelter with their 2 dogs, 2 cats, 4 snakes, and a lizard. The Harpers were trapped for 4 hours before firefighters from the Roswell Fire Department arrived to rescue them. The couple, along with their pets, were safely evacuated as water levels continued to rise.
If the flooding in Chavez County has left you unable to work, you might be eligible for a disaster unemployment assistance. This ultimately depends on whether President Biden issues a federal disaster declaration and allows the New Mexico Department of Workforce Solutions to offer disaster unemployment assistance. You can still get ahead of the curve and file your application. To do this, you could go online at www.jobs.state.nm.us or call Monday through Friday between 8 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. at 877-664-6984.
New Mexico has a new license plate that features the Gila monster. The reptile appears on a yellow background alongside red lettering on the new plate, which benefits wildlife research, habitat enhancement, education, and rehabilitation projects by the New Mexico Department of Game and Fish. The Gila monster license plate is the 5th wildlife art plate released by the New Mexico Department. In recent years, with quail, mule deer, and roadrunner plates also available. The plate was designed by W. Howard Brandenburg, an accomplished scientific illustrator and third-generation New Mexican. The Gila monster is an iconic resident of America's southwest desert habitats, including New Mexico. The reptiles are rarely seen and spend most of their lives burrowing under the ground and are more active at night during the cooler temperatures. Well, speaking of these cooler temperatures, Edwin, I really hope we can start seeing some in the daytime as well, not just in the night.
Yeah, well, throughout the week, these first couple of days, temperatures are going to be rising into the mid-80s. But as the week progresses, by the end of the week, we should be seeing temperatures averaging in the low 60s. And just talking about temperatures here, taking a quick look at the national weather map. Up north, the majority of these states are experiencing temperatures down in the 50 degrees. Coming down south, most places are averaging around 82 degrees. Texas, areas reaching up to the 90s, Florida going down to the 80s, and then Arizona in the 85. So the south is still experiencing some really hot temperatures. But that is all the weather I have for you folks at this moment. I will have more later this evening on my full weather report. Back to you guys.
The New Mexico State Fire Marshal's Office and the New Mexico EMT Association are partnering for the 11th Annual Fire and EMS Expo at the State Fire Academy from October 23rd through the 27th. The expo is designed to offer emergency services personnel with educational opportunities that reflect current fire and medical knowledge along with hands-on practice. This year, 286 fire and EMS personnel are registered to participate in a total of 149 courses, which is the highest number of registrants, beating the previous record of 256 in 2022, all to make for a safer New Mexico.
October has recently been declared National Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and Curry County has recognized its role in identifying and protecting citizens from and responding to cyber threats that may have significant impact on our individual and collective cybersecurity and privacy. The Stop, Think, and Connect campaign services as the National Cybersecurity Public Awareness Campaign, implemented through a coalition of private companies, nonprofit, and government organizations, all coming together to increase the understanding of cyber threats and empowering the American public to be safer and more secure online. For more information about how you can keep your personal data and privacy safe, you can visit www.stopthinkconnect.org.
The Lea County Board of County Commissioners approved $500,000 in funding for the City of Lovington's animal shelter. Vice Chair Brad Weber said, quote, "Our animal control is an issue that we'd really like to get a handle on," end quote. They have really stepped up in helping the county with the dog and cat populations, and the extra funding will help these animals from running loose in the streets and upgrade these facilities.
The cannabis business is booming in New Mexico, so much so that compliance officers are struggling to keep up. The state has approved more than 3,000 licenses with more than 1,000 retailers across the state and some 700 stores open for business. The industry generated $1.3 billion since the start of the month. But with all that activity, the state has also seen more problems like compliance issues and unlicensed supply. State regulation leaders will ask the legislature for an additional $5 million to bolster enforcement. Right now, there are only 13 compliance officers that handle the entire state.
Coming up after the break, Edwin will have his full weather forecast for you.
But first, here's a look at today's financial market.
Welcome back to News 3 New Mexico. I am Edwin Mejia. Cooler than average temperatures will extend southward into the mid-Atlantic region, but conditions will remain dry for these southern locations. The rest of the national map is looking very nice. Not much going on. There are a couple areas which are experiencing dry conditions with possibilities of fires, but the likelihood of that is very low. Also, we had the flooding in Roswell, so prayers out for those people that were affected by this flooding. For current wind speeds in the state of New Mexico, Farmington up north, 5 mile per hour winds, Clayton 11 mile per hour winds, coming down south, Las Cruces at 11 mile per hours, Silver City 12 mile per hour, Roswell 10 mile per hour winds, and then home base Portales pretty low 6 mile per hour winds. And for our friends in Texas, 9 mile per hour winds, Lubbock 11 mile per hour winds, and Midland 11 mile per hour winds. For our current temperatures here in the state of New Mexico, up north, Farmington 76 degrees, Gallup 75, Clayton 62, going more down south, Las Cruces at an 82, Silver City 79, Carlsbad 71. Here in home base, Clovis 68, and home base Portales at a 68 as well. For our friends in Texas, Amarillo 68, Lubbock 76, and Midland 76. For tonight's lows, up north, Farmington 41, Gallup at a 36, Clayton 47, going more towards the middle, Albuquerque 51, Ruidoso 52, down south, Las Cruces at a 52, Silver City 51, Carlsbad 52. In home base, Portales 50, and then for our friends in Texas, Amarillo 49, Lubbock 52, and Midland 55. Tomorrow's highs, Farmington 75, Clayton 68, Gallup 78, down south, Las Cruces 85, and for home base, Portales at a 78, almost reaching the 80s. For our friends in Texas, Amarillo 74, Lubbock 78, and Midland 79. For the 7-day forecast, Roswell, Saturday, Sunday, Saturday 78, Sunday 89, Monday at a 91, cloudy, Wednesday 76, cloudy, and as the week progresses, temperatures will go down. Carlsbad, Saturday, Sunday 80, 91, Monday 93, and as the week progresses, temperatures will continue to go down as well, going down to 74 on Thursday. Tucumcari, Saturday, Sunday 74, 83, Monday 84, and then Thursday, Friday, and Wednesday it's going to be down in the 60s. Portales, Saturday 77, Sunday 86, Monday cloudy with a high of 88, Tuesday 85, and then Wednesday It's going to be at a 72, and then as the week progresses, temperatures will go down. Thursday at a 69 and Friday at a 72.
Well, it's definitely looking like we'll get that colder weather like I was hoping. We'll be right back after the break with more news. Welcome back. Our station, KENW, is celebrating its 50th anniversary with an event tomorrow on October 26th. The event will take place from 2 to 5 p.m. at 1450 South Avenue Inn in Portales, New Mexico, and serves as a reminder of KENW bringing quality shows and news programs for 50 years. The event is open to everyone, and to get a chance to see the TV station and learn about the important impact it's had on eastern New Mexico, Portales, and the communities and students that help make the station a resounding success. It's taken decades, but a focus is finally being placed to help residents of colonias in southern New Mexico. Colonias are poor communities that many times lack basic services like water, sewer, and electricity.
Roz Brown from the Public News Service tells us why federal money may soon help solve some of the problems.
Improvements at colonias along the southwest border, including 150 in New Mexico, is getting a second look from the Government Accountability Office. The GAO's Jill Nemen says there are grant and loan programs that target colonias to improve water and wastewater systems and housing. But the Federal Department of Agriculture doesn't have accurate data on the extent of program benefits. She says colonias are predominantly rural Hispanic communities near the U.S.-Mexico border with high poverty rates.
Many of them started as settlements that were associated with military forts or missionary activities. And so they kind of grew up outside of cities without being connected to the same infrastructure.
The GAO analyzed program documentation and funding data from 2020 to 2023, conducted local interviews, and made physical observations during 24 site visits in the 4 U.S.-Mexico border states. They recommended that Congress consider revising the population requirement for colonias to continue receiving block grant funding given population growth in the Southwest. Nemen says many colonias face challenges in obtaining and using federal assistance because local governments don't have the staff to apply for federal funds. But without some administrative revisions, she notes nearly 60% of colonias will likely become ineligible in the future for certain targeted financial assistance.
They're typically areas that have poor water and sewage infrastructure, substandard housing, and a number of other economic and environmental challenges. And there's a continuing need for assistance in these communities.
In southern New Mexico, the designated colonia of Anthony, home to about 10,000 people, is refurbishing and expanding its wastewater treatment plant with grants and loans from the USDA. The new plant started treating wastewater this month, with the entire project scheduled for completion in November. I'm Roz Brown reporting.
Besides the federal money, New Mexico is also pitching in to help. The state legislature has adopted the Colonias Infrastructure Act to help certain communities in southern New Mexico that lack basic infrastructure and services. The Southeast New Mexico College Diversity Community in Carlsbad is presenting the Zuni Ola Maidens, who are bringing their rich traditions and mesmerizing performances to Carlsbad. The Zuni Ola Maidens are performing at 800 West Church Street in Carlsbad on Friday, November 8th at 5:30 p.m. Access to watch the performance is completely free and open to the public. The Zuni Ola Maidens are recipients of the National Heritage Fellowship Award, which is the nation's highest honor in folk and traditional art, which they hope to bring to this performance. Coming up after the break, Lorenzo will have his sports report for you, so stay tuned.
Welcome back to News 3 New Mexico. I'm Lorenzo Solis. Let's take a dive into the sports world. Kicking off with Thursday night football, last night the Minnesota Vikings took on Los Angeles Rams. The Vikings had an early lead in the first quarter, taking 2 touchdowns thanks to the quarterback Sam Darnold. However, with steady pacing, Matthew Stafford, quarterback of the Los Angeles Rams, managed to help his team get a touchdown in every quarter since then, with the help of running back Kyron Williams, rushing a total of 97 yards throughout the game. The win was helped to be secured by Byron Young, who got the last points of the game with a safety in the final quarter, bringing the Rams a win ratio to 3-4, while the Vikings take their second loss as 5-2. Touching down in this to Eastern sports, the Eastern New Mexico Greyhounds are traveling to the western side of the state to go up against Western New Mexico Mustangs this Saturday for their last away game. Last year, the two teams battled it out in November with one of the closest games for the Greyhounds last season, barely losing out in a battle of 24-25, meaning the Greyhounds are coming back for revenge this weekend. This season has been rough for the Greyhounds as they have been on a losing streak, but they are fired up and craving that next win. So this weekend should be an exciting game, and we'll have to see the scores for you next week on Wednesday. This weekend is a busy one for the Greyhound Athletics, with a lot of important matchups. Women's volleyball is going up St. Mary's at 6 p.m. at St. Edward's tomorrow at 2 p.m. Both of these games right here in Portales at the Steve Loy Family Foundation Stadium. Women's soccer is also taking on St. Mary's at 1 p.m. tomorrow on the 26th, and men's soccer following them up against Sul Ross State at 2:30 p.m. at the Steve Loy Foundation Stadium. And big things are happening for the men's and women's cross country as their Lone Star Conference Championships for both teams are happening tomorrow at 9 a.m. for the men's 8K and at 9:40 a.m. for the women's 6K Central Standard Time as they travel out to Kingsville, Texas for their biggest and final meet of the 2024 season. The NBA official games began this past Tuesday, October 22nd, with 2 games headlining the opening day event, with Los Angeles Lakers taking down the Minnesota Timberwolves in a score of 110 and 103. Meanwhile, in New York, the New York Knicks lost out to Boston Celtics with a score of 109 to 132. And with the games on Tuesday, the Celtics are also the only team with 2 wins so far, competing in their first 2 matches taking home those wins and an early lead in the Eastern Conference. 10 matches are taking place tonight to continue this opening weekend, and some fun matchups are sure to make tonight an exciting night for basketball. With matches like the Pistons versus the Cavaliers and the Nets versus the Magic, we'll have to update on key matchups throughout the season, and we're excited for what is looking to be an exciting NBA season. That's all the sports I have for today. We'll be right back after the break with more news.
Thank you so much for watching. Have a good night.